Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Here is a crazy looking position on the board from 2019. Forgive me for butchering these players' names, but here we go. So, with the white pieces, we have a player named Renat Yumabayev. Okay, rated 2615, Grandmaster from Kazakhstan. Very talented player. 31 years old. Actually, there's a video on YouTube. It's short. It's the end of a blitz game between Yumabayev and Alexander Morozevich. So check that out. Just put Yumabayev chess or something in the search bar, and you can see that little video of him playing blitz against Alexander Morozevich. So he has the white pieces here, and with the black pieces is Nodirbek Yakubuev. Forgive me for butchering that name. He's a young 18-year-old grandmaster. Rated 2600, and actually he just became a grandmaster this year, June 27th, I believe. I'm sorry, not this year, of course. Actually, last year. So he's a new grandmaster, 18 years old, and ages are important here because this game kind of gives you an insight on the value of being experienced in certain positions. So here we go. This position is I looked at this position for a while. I mean, I put some work into this position, but hopefully I can get it across to you how I feel about the position without taking too long. So, okay. And once again, this player up here to my left, the female player, whoever is the first one to let me know who she is, I'll be glad to shout you out on my next video. And of course, please like and subscribe and all those things, and share my video if you have other social media outlets, please, so that my channel can blow up. All right. Back to the game. Let me stop messing around. So here we are. We're at move 30. It's black to move here. Yakubuev again, 18-year-old GM with the white pieces. I'm sorry, with the black pieces. Excuse me. So in this position, you can see it's highly imbalanced here. So let's just go through some summary analysis so we can find our way here. First thing I want to look at is the king safety. All right, because if you get checkmated, game is over. So let's look at the kings. You can see black's king is definitely more secure than white's. All right, white's king side is ripped open. King is exposed somewhat. If that bishop is not there on f3, you can possibly see a queen or a knight invasion via the square g4. All right, so we'll check that box, and we'll definitely keep a note that, hey, the king safety of white is a little bit drafty, a little bit suspect, right? His security system is little suspect there. All right, let's look at direct threats in the position. We can see on the C file, black's rook on c2. We see the queen on e6 pointing at c4. So black is threatening to grab that pawn. We also see another direct threat on a7, whereas if it's white's turn, he'll take the pawn on a7. All right, so we'll leave that for now. We just want to acknowledge the threats in the position. Next thing we want to look at is material. All right, is anyone up material? And we count the pawns, we count the pieces. Everything is even. Next thing we want to look at is open lines, right? Diagonals, ranks, files, etc. And we see many of them. So the position is pretty open. You can see the B file open, E file open, the H1 to A8 diagonal open. So there's plenty of room for rooks, bishops, to to move around the board. All right. Next thing we will look at is pawn structure. All right. It's obvious to me that right now black has the better pawn structure. Right. His pawns are pretty good, except he has the double pawns on the F file. Not too bad. Meanwhile, white's pawn structure is a little bit more disrupted. Right. You can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands, and those type of pawns are a little bit harder to defend, okay, than pawns that are connected, like you see blacks on the queen side. Okay. Next thing I'm going to look at is the center. Who controls the center? And I see white controlling the majority of the center there. Development is a wash. All the pieces seem to be developed pretty good. Next thing I'm going to look at is a piece location. And again, I think black has a little edge here. His rook on the second rank of white is very intimidating, right? And if you just compare white's rook to black's rook, there's no question on whose piece is better. All right. Looking at the minor pieces, the bishop is definitely better than the corresponding minor piece in the knight. In these open positions like this, the bishops tend to shine. Another thing is that black's knight needs an outpost, and he really doesn't have any outpost. So his knight is not really on the same level with that bishop on F3. That bishop on F3 is definitely a shining piece in the white position, right? Both queens look pretty good. They're both in attacking positions. If you want to give black's queen a nod just for being in the center, having a little bit more range and mobility, you can do that. Okay, but the big difference as far as the piece location is concerned is definitely can be seen with the rooks and the bishops. All right, so that's like a little summary analysis. There's many other questions that you can ask yourself when trying to come up with first, who's better. Okay, that's the first thing you want to do when you're analyzing, is ask yourself, is someone actually better, right? Am I worse? Am I better? Or is the position just equal? Because that will determine the plan and the moves that you will make going forward. Like if you come to the conclusion that the position is just equal, then you shouldn't be looking for a combination in the position, right? You shouldn't really be looking to sacrifice your piece for some king side attack or something like that, because that means the position is probably not equal if you have this big attack. All right, unless the sacrifice, of course, continues the verifies, it confirms the assessment of equality on the board. But most of you know what I mean. Your moves have to be justified by the analysis. If you're better, then how much better? If you're like way better, then hey, maybe it's time to sack a piece or something like that. But if you're maybe only a little bit better, that means your move should represent that small advantage here. All right. So when I look at this position, I would say that it's equal, right? Even though there's a lot of imbalances, I would say that it's equal because each side has its good side and bad side. So let's get into it. All right. Now I'm going to bring it all together. Right. So when I look at black, for instance, he has a beautiful rook there on the second rank. White's is bad. However, right, white has this beautiful bishop, okay, to offset the knight of black, okay? Black's king is safe. White's king is a little suspect, okay? Black has a better pawn structure, but white has these beautiful connected passed pawns on the C and D files that can become very dangerous, and he's attacking the A pawn, right? All of this information must be brought together to decide our strategy. All right. So in this position, it's white to move here. Black has played rook c2. Of course, he's threatening to grab the c pawn, and of course, he would like to grab the d pawn because black's strategy here. Oh, let me tell you that because I didn't tell you what the general plans were for both sides. So, okay, black of course wants to stop these pawns. Okay, if he can win these pawns, okay, or even slow them down and just demobilize them, right, where they're not a threat to move. Then he can start pressing on the king side where the white king is exposed, right? He can make moves such as h5, g5 followed by g4, okay, pressing down on the king side and creating pressure over there. All right, attacking the f2 square again, right after driving the bishop away, perhaps with moves like knight g4, knight e4 at some time, combined with the rook on the second rank. All right, so this is what black wants to do. Black wants to attack on the king side, but first he must respect the passed pawns. All right, that as they go up the board, they will get more and more dangerous. All right, so black strategy is I have to stop them, slow them down. All right, and then turn to the attack. Okay, white on the other hand is saying, hey, I need to get these pawns up the board as soon as possible, and I need to, keep black on his toes with these threats. All right, so he wants to neutralize black's potential initiative in the position. Right, I already told you black's rook is a fantastic piece. White's rook not so much. All right, so that will explain to you or clarify for you at least the next move that white makes here. Rook c1. He's like, hey, I want to get rid of that rook. That, we're going to trade, you get rid of your good piece. We're going to limit your attacking potential in the position. Rook takes c4. So it's tit for tat. Black says, all right, you're going to get rid of the rook, but I'm going to get one of your dangerous pawns. Fine. Rook takes c4. Queen takes c4. And now queen takes a7. So this is the trade-off. Material is still even, right? Each side has 4 pawns. But look, white has 2 dangerous passed pawns, right? One on the a file, one on the d file. And the bishop is super strong, right? And first of all, protecting the king, controlling the sender, and also assisting the pawns in their advance. Okay. Now Yumabayev with the white pieces. I'm sorry, Yumabayev. I keep messing his name up. With the black pieces now, after queen c7 is played, he plays his move queen c2. Remember, Noderbeck is Noderbeck is only 18 years old, all right, and a new grandmaster, so he's just coming up through the ranks. He plays queen c2 here, all right, so he's putting pressure again on f2, and he's putting pressure on a2 here. What I like is knight g8 with this idea of h6 and coming to f5. Again, getting closer to the king. And you can see once the knight is on f5, he also has this idea of knight to h4 check. Okay. Again, even though black needs to stop white from what he's from accomplishing his plan, black needs to also make sure that he goes on and accomplishes his plan also of attacking. All right. Another idea is queen e6. Again, this facilitates the plan that I mentioned earlier with the king side expansion. All right. So you got to combine threats, right? Attacking and defense in these type of positions. All right. Think Sicilian defense. All right. You can't just play. If you're black, you just can't just all out attack on the king side, right? I'm sorry, on the queen side. Those variations are more of sideline variations, right? The best variations or most popular variations used at top level are those variations which combine attack and defense. Yes, you're playing your a6, b5, etc., but you're still taking precautions on the king side of the board. So in this position, black has to adopt the same philosophy. He has to stop the white pawns from racing up the board and queening, of course, but he still has to be mindful of creating offense and threats in the position that are going to distract white from doing what he wants to do. So black didn't play any of those. He played queen c2. Okay, so guess what? A4, and h5, and here you go. So you see black trying to implement these ideas, albeit in a different way. H3, and this, of course, little prophylaxis there for the future if g5, g4 is played. Knight e4, again attacking. So black is trying to mix it up, attack and defense. So knight e4 is played. d5, so white is doing the same thing, right? He's defending but also advancing his pawn. All right, so now queen d3 is played, getting right behind the pawn, of course. And now queen e7, threatening the knight, so black doesn't have time to capture on d5. Knight d2, black returns with his own threat, and so you can see the back and forth action here. So now the bishop on f3 is threatened. Check, queen e5, king g8, queen e8. So the older player here, Yumabayev, is basically offering a draw here. All right, repeating the position. King g7, queen e5. Now here the young player, Yakub Buyev, plays king f8 here, so he rejects the draw, opportunity here, and he must feel that he's better in this position, and perhaps he could win. Now, again, if you're in black shoes here, right, he has a decent chance of winning here, right? He has 4 pawns together on the king side rather. His king is relatively safe for the time being. His pieces are well placed, and he feels that, you know what, I can stop these isolated pawns. All right, and this is, I think, the idea. Of course, I'm not in his brain, but this is the idea I think black had, in rejecting the draw. It's like, hey, I can stop these pawns, and I should be able to squeeze, a win out of this position. So queen e2. All right, black has to be careful not to rush in any ending whereby he would just be lost here, which he would if the queens come off the board. Black has to be careful if it's to watch the distance of his king from the pawns. So knight takes f3, and queen takes f3. Notice not queen takes d3, of course, because then knight e1 check would just simply win the queen back, and black would be winning, of course. So queen takes f3, queen c4. So now we are in the pure queen and king ending. These endings can be notoriously tricky because there's like perpetual check opportunities. You have to watch out for just falling into checkmate, right? You have to worry about just dropping material, right? Because queens are very powerful. All right, so with that in mind, let's look at the next few moves. Again, the plans are still relatively the same, but with less pieces on the board. Black doesn't have as much of an opportunity to attack as he did before, say when he had the knight and rook. All right, so to me, this kind of favors white, those exchanges, right? I still think the evaluation of pretty much being equal is the same, but the danger posed to the white king is definitely less with fewer pieces on the board. A5. So now the advance of these pawns provokes black to bring his king out of its safe zone. right, in order to assist. So king e8, h4. So that hinders any further advance on the king side with those pawns. King d7, king g1, and now queen a4 attacking the a pawn, of course. And now queen c3, queen d1, check, king h2, and now queen d5. So it looks good for black because black has actually won a pawn. So his strategy has worked, right? He said, hey, I can win some pawns, and then trade the queens off, and then I'll win easily with this 4-2. So don't get it twisted. If you take the queens off the board right now, black is completely winning, right? The king is in a good spot on d7 to stop the a pawn, and the 4-2 majority on the queen side is over with. However, you add queens on, and this king's being exposed, different story altogether. Because like I said, you introduce checkmates, perpetual checks, and so on. a6. And now here, my friends, is the moment of truth in the game. What would you play in this position? All right, you can pause it if you want. I'll give you like 5 seconds. So here's the moment of truth with black to move here, and the pawn is advancing. All right, he's already rejected a draw earlier, so remember that. So you could kind of get an idea of maybe what his mentality is. Okay, so here Yumabayev played queen to a2. All right, what could be wrong with this move, right? Attacking both pawns at the same time. All right, what's wrong with this move is what I have highlighted in yellow. The king is totally exposed, so therefore an otherwise great move really doesn't do much, because since the white queen that is able to check, he can always protect his pawns. All right, I'll show you what the correct move was later. But anyway, queen d4 happened, and now not only is the pawn protected, but white's queen is in the center of the board now. King c6, queen e4 check, king c5, queen to e7 check, king d4, queen d6. Notice how he's protecting his pawn, his advanced pawn, and he's setting it up where he can protect the pawn on f2 also. King e4, and now king g2. The better move, the stronger move here was queen b6. Queen b6 protects the f2 pawn and prepares to advance to a7. All right, and then of course check, say on b7, and then following up with the queen at some point. That was definitely the stronger move. King g2, okay, protecting the pawn. So now queen a4, now queen b6, and it's hard to blame black here. He plays queen d1. Obviously, he's looking for a perpetual here. All right, let me show you. Let me give black another move. So if black can move again, he would just simply play queen g4, and he would have a perpetual. However, white gets the move. So here he just played queen b7, king e5, and now he played queen e7 check. If he plays, and again, this is why you have to be careful in these queen endings. If he plays a7, right, he gets excited. Queen g4 check, king h2, queen takes h4 check, and queen d1, king h2, right? Now, he still gets the queen here, but it's a little bit more problematic. So he could have played a7 here, but you got to think of it in like human terms. He's trying to make it clear as possible. So I know some of you might be saying, why didn't he just play a7 right away? Well, I mean, if you see this, you might be, averse to playing that immediately. Instead, he went with queen e7 here. King f5, queen takes f7. See, and he's just walking him around with check. Now queen f6, king g4, and he's just making sure that nothing goes wrong. King h4, and he's getting time on the clock. Also, because this tournament was a game 90 tournament, and it was just it was 30 seconds added per move. Okay, so queen f5. Again, this time a7 here. Queen d5. King h2. And you can see the threat of queen d8 check, and then followed by the promotion. Again, controlling the queening square, defending at the same time, right? And then finally queening. So that's the idea there. So again, a7 could have been played, but queen f5 is played. So queen f3. And you might be like, well, what's going on here? Queen f3 is a stalemate attempt. So again, these endings are crazy. Black is pulling out all of the stops. So if king takes f3 there, it would have been stalemate. So queen f3, king g1 was the response. So now he's going for the perpetual. Boy, does he wish he took that draw earlier. King h2, queen f3, queen f6 check, king g4. And it's crazy because it looks like there has to be a draw or something here, but white is playing really precisely, and it just doesn't look like it's in the cards. Queen e7, king g4. And now queen b7, of course. Can't afford to trade queens, but look how close black is to actually mating white here. And he plays queen d3. I know some of you are curious, well, what about f3? Yeah, f3 is just meant by queen d7, and that's the problem, because now you can just trade the queens off. See? And so that's not going to work. Sometimes chess is cruel like that, right? It'll bring you right to, right to where you feel like you're gonna, see some daylight, and then close the door on you. So this is why black played queen d3. Now a7, queen d1, king h2, queen d6 with the idea of playing f3, discover check, but it's not gonna be. Queen g2, and with that, black resign. And the reason why is here's another variation. If he just queens instead of playing queen g2, that would lead to a draw. That's why you got to be very careful, again, in these type of endings. And this is why white played queen g2. If he gets greedy and queens right away, the game will end in the draw. After queen d1, king h2, and then queen d6, and you had the perpetual, and then you'll be mad. Okay, so after rejecting the draw offer earlier, black was forced to resign here. I want to go back to this moment. Okay, so here's where king f8 was played, where he actually rejected the draw. No problem, because that's not where he went wrong. Where black went wrong here in this particular ending was when he went for this, when he played queen a2. Again, it looks great, but he left the king unprotected. And his best move right here is f3. And unfortunately for him, a draw is really the best that he can expect here. So that means just basically he should have just took the draw. All right, but being young, that's what I was saying. This reminds me of kind of youth versus experience. Being young, he thought he would win. And again, this will be a drawn position after f3 there instead of queen a2. Right? So he went for it, right? It looked like some gold on the ground. You know, look, I'm attacking 2 pawns. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna checkmate this guy. And he might have also thought that, hey, that his position, that the white king is exposed enough to, even if it doesn't work out, he'll still be able to get a perpetual at some point, or draw at some point. Because as you saw later on, black was super close to being able to draw, but you know, he wasn't able to. So again, here at move 40, he probably should have took the draw. So as usual, as I've been doing lately, I've been showing you the position from the end, almost like a reverse engineering strategy, right? So you can see how the end game was played, and right, the final result. So again, I'm going to take you back to the beginning and just briefly show you how we got to that position that you see on the board, where it's pretty much even here. Again, Yumabayev with the white pieces, and Yakubuyev with the black pieces. Game started off Shigorins. Last few videos I've been looking at Shigorin games, right? A lot of imbalances in these positions, so I like to look at them. A lot to talk about. So bishop g4 in this particular line. I'm not going to get into the analysis and all that stuff. It's another video where I actually talk about the Shigorins, and of course those are on my channel too. But c takes d5, bishop takes, g takes, queen takes d5, e3, e5. You know, main line. Other moves can be played, of course, e6, even just castles queenside, but e5 is a mainstay. Knight c3, bishop b4, and you can see early on this imbalance where black is totally willing to give up the bishops for knights, right? What does he get in return? He gets easy development and active piece play. Okay, so black has active piece play, good development, easy development, and he has 2 knights versus the bishops. What does white get? Of course, white gets the 2 bishops, gets a big center. All right, and so he definitely has his argument for being better here. Black's job is to blockade. Right, he can't really allow the position to just swing wide open with those 2 bishops. Right, he has to be very careful when it comes to the opening of the position. Black has to be very active and keep the position blockaded. Right, this is basically the spirit of the Shigorins without getting into, you know, just theory. Rook b1, right, getting on the open files. What else? Rook b8, rook g1, g6, and you can see the open lines, right, allow you to free yourself, right, and have free piece play. You got to be ready tactically too. When you have a lot of open lines on the board, you have to be on point tactically. f4. Why f4? Because what f4 does is it removes the black pawn from the center and mobilizes white center. Remember what I said? Black wants to blockade the center. He doesn't want that center rolling freely up the board. When they immobilize it so that it becomes a target in the albatross for white. e4, knight f6. Did black hang a piece? No, he didn't, because the white king is in the middle of the board. e5, queen e6. Of course, the pin prohibits the knight on f6 from being captured. Bishop g2, and now knight d5. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. See how even though white has more space, look at the black pieces though, and how they're just kind of hanging on the pawn chain, right? It's like the pawn chain is like an abandoned building, and you know, the black pieces are just hanging out. All right, this is what black wants. He wants to blockade, all right, and stifle the activity of a potential activity of white, because as long as the position looks like this, the bishops really can't shine in this position. This position is more conducive to knights. Rook b5. So now the knight is attacked. Again, white wants to remove the blockade, right? The forces that are hindering him. So knight e7, queen b3. So now you can see the attack on the knight on d5 and the pawn on b7 simultaneously. c6. So now the pawn drops. Rook takes, queen takes. Castles for black. c4. Again, white wants to be mobile with his pawns. Knight b6, attacking c4. Bishop b4, attacking the knight on e7 along with the queen. Knight d7. So bishop takes. Nice little in-between move from black there, taking over the file. Queen takes e6, and now queen takes e7. Bishop comes to e4, and this is how the rook got to the second rank. So you can see how black is being active. So both players have realized their plans to some extent, right? Black has his activity, his free piece play. Meanwhile, white has his rolling center, right, and his powerful bishop. e6, knight f6, king e1, right, just trying to get out of the picture, and king g7. Another simple option for black is just queen takes e6. Play could go queen takes e6, f takes e6, and then bishop f3, for example, get out of the pursuit of the knight. c5, rook d4, c6, e5, and you can see again similar ideas. d1, and then this particular variation, you can see that black is somewhat better here. Okay, but it's pretty even. Instead of that, just king g7 was played. Bishop f3, and now rook b6, queen c5, queen takes e6 here. King g2, rook b2, and queen a3, and rook c2, and there you have it. This is how we got to our starting position in the game, and then of course you saw the chaos that ensued shortly afterwards. So that was an interesting game. There's a lot of imbalances in there, a lot of interesting variations. I tried to crystallize everything as much as I could. I mean, I have tons of notes on this game, different variations, but I didn't want to bog you down with that. I just wanted to give you like the general ideas, in these queen endings, right, and let you know also that black's loss is not because of the opening or Shagorn's defense is bad or something like that. We often judge by result. Had nothing to do with that. Actually, it was equal out of the opening. Both sides had chances, but the more experienced player, wind up winning. Black made an error in judgment. As we saw, he had an opportunity to draw. Actually, it was white that was basically going for the perpetual, and unfortunately, he rejected that, and then wind up giving us an exciting game to talk about on this channel. So with that, I'm going to close out. I want to just tell everybody once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me here. Please share my video, like the video, hit the thumbs up to move it along in the algorithms of YouTube. Also check the links below. There's a donation button. Please support my channel. There's some other links below that for books/DVDs on various openings or end games. And I also urge you check the videos that will be featured at the end of this video, just to give you a sample of the other type of content on this channel. I mean, I cover everything from end games, middle games, openings, I mean, you name it. I have about 700 videos on this channel, and and I think it's good content. Like I said, I just had to update my format a little bit, and I think we're ready to go now. So I hope you stay with me on this journey. I'd love to hear you guys in the comment section. Again, if you know who this player is up here, let me know. The first one to let me know, I'll be glad to shout you out on the next video. So with that, looking forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you soon on the next video.